Well, hi everyone. Welcome to the New England Racing Show, Manchester, New Hampshire, Channel 23. Also on YouTube. Like us on Facebook, and the show will come up automatically on your Facebook page. And I'm your host, Bill Sturgis. Well, we have more interviews today from the Racers Expo. 3 more good interviews. So let's get to those real quick.
A racetrack that I have always thought was very special. And it's nestled up there in New Hampshire, and we used to have fun with it because it was hard to spell the name of it. But Monadnock Speedway has certainly gathered its own following, and Monadnock Speedway takes a special breed of cat, as they say, to get around it. You certainly have mastered it. What's the key?
Well, every racetrack has its own quirks to it, and Monadnock Speedway has never been repaved since 1973. So you've got patches where waters come up through. You've got, originally, when I first went there, I went there in 1973 as a 5 or 6 year old kid.
Yeah, right. Okay, go ahead.
And the straightaways were dirt, and then they had paved the corners so you could get through it. And in 1980, Larry Cirillo bought it, and we said, we're going to get new asphalt. Well, it's 2014, and it's the same asphalt that was there when they did it in 1974. So there's every nook, cranny, every bump. You can feel everything. And the biggest thing is to not overdrive the racetrack. It's very easy. You go through 1 and 2, it's 14 degrees of banking, and the car holds no matter what your setup is. Everybody's a hero through 1 and 2. But then you go down the other end of the track, and it flattens out to 8 degrees, and everybody tries to charge the corner, and off they go. So if you can master the idea of driving 2 different corners, charging one and relaxing in the other, then Monadnock Speedway will come to you.
Well, and let's be honest here for a second. You can sit there and say, the track is worn out, the grip is gone. You hear that on the Cup Series when they talked about Daytona, when they talked about different racetracks, and the one that comes to mind is, hard to believe, out in California when they needed to do the repaving job. But yet it's the same for everybody. And I would think once you get it figured out, does it give you a home field advantage?
It definitely gives you a home field advantage. I was fortunate enough to work with Bobby Santos, one of the races at Monadnock when they came up, and we had talked about actually getting in the car and showing him. And I worked with Jeff Rocco this year. He came up, and they called me during the week. We came up, and I said, you know what? You have to drive off the racetrack. As odd as that's going to sound, down in 3 and 4. There's all fresh asphalt underneath the white line. I said, you got to drive, get the whole car underneath the white line. And I said, it's not a comfortable feeling because everybody wants to stay up in the groove. I said, but you put 2 tires. If you can get all 4, it's incredible. If you get 2, I said, you're in the top 10. So each practice we went out, and he picked up a whole almost 3/4 of a second by hanging the wheels down on the inside. And like he said, there's no way that he would have ever known that because they're all out there following each other, all the whaling guys. And they're trying to learn, and they're trying to learn when they get on the gas. You help one guy, and he didn't get the pole, but he was in the top 3. So it's amazing how much of a home field advantage it really is.
One of the interesting threads in all the conversations we're having here at Racers Expo is what lies ahead for short track racing. From your perspective, what do you think the answer to that question is?
Well, it's when it was first started, every gas station in America had a race car in it, and it was cool. The kids say, we're going to go down to the gas station, and so-and-so's got a car, and it was something to do on a Saturday night. We're going to go down. Now, you don't go to the junkyard to get parts anymore. Those days are gone. You don't take a passenger car off the street and gut it out, even if you're in the mini stock class. Those days are gone. So the economics have changed the sport. I don't know if there really is an answer. Races are our own worst enemies, as you guys alluded to earlier. Whatever it costs, if you can afford it, if it's in your means, you're going to get it. So there's always going to be a hierarchy. There's going to be your top 5 guys, no matter what racetrack you go to. No matter how you try to maneuver the rules around, the same guys rise to it. They're going to rise to the top. Biggest thing is we got to get the younger generation involved. We're going to make them want to do it. We got to entice them.
Yeah, but to get them to want to do it. And I was talking to Terry Eames, and he told a story about his stepson. And he said when he got him a car, he couldn't understand why there were corn stalks under it and everything else. And this was a case of brutal honesty. His stepson said, Dad, I thought when I started driving that it was like the Xbox game, where when I went off, I just kind of kept my foot in and went after it. How do we take motorsports and introduce that PS2, that Xbox, what these kids are growing up with? Because there is no reset button in a race car.
Oh, you have to make the kids work on the cars. You have to have them invest their time so that they understand when they're out there with other people. You know what? I can't just sail it in here and I wreck the front end of the car. And you know what? I'm going to come back Friday because Dad's going to have it all fixed and we're going to go back to the racetrack. You need to. When I started, I did everything on my car. We didn't even have a welder when I started. Everything was nut and bolted. So, as we come up through, I understood every part and every piece on the car, how it went together, and the time that was involved in putting it together. There's a lot of young guys that are getting in the sport, and we talked about it earlier, and Mom and Dad got the checkbook, right. So they're autographing the check, they're buying the best of the best, and they expect to run up front. And the kids don't have the knowledge, they don't have the seat time, and they don't have the effort in getting the car to the racetrack. They know that they bought the car, they picked out the paint scheme and the numbers, and they got fitted for the seat. And then that's it. They don't have any investment in the car. You got to make the kids be involved from start to finish so that they really progress and really get an understanding and like the sport.
I didn't start racing actively, even though I've been in racing my entire life, until I was the ripe old age of 55. And I'll never forget, I got my first race car. It was a used race car. It was a used Mini Sprint 1200. Picked it up in Nashville, Tennessee. Myself and the late Frank Lewis, who was my crew chief, we brought it back and proceeded to take it apart. Took every piece off that Bailey car. And then Frank got in his truck and said, I'll see you in a couple of days, put it back together. That was the best education I ever got in all the years, in the multi-decades that I was in and around racing, because I had to not only figure it out, because at first I thought, my God, if I knew this was what we were going to do, I would have taken pictures. Instead, I had to figure it out. And there was a lot of going back and forth and having something, upside down, and then beginning to understand how everything interacted with the other. That's what I think we're missing with today's racer.
Yeah, the kids they're getting in turnkey cars at the track. They're showing up midday. The car's already there. They're bringing their suit and helmet. This isn't a time. This is a deal where you see other guys do it. The Mike Stefanics, you see some of those guys, but they've put in 25, 30, 35 years to get to that spot. The kids coming in, that's what they expect. They expect to go play soccer, do whatever they're going to do, go to this, that, and the other thing, and show up at the track at 3 o'clock and everything's ready to go.
You realize what we just did with our conversation is illustrate that we're two old farts. We not only dated ourselves, but we also violated the basic premise as we grow up, and we swore that we would not complain the way the preceding generation complained in our presence.
The youth. Yeah, and you know what? It's the way motorsports has developed. Like I said, we're our own worst enemies, and everything, you don't go to the junkyard anymore. Everything's bought off the shelf. You bolt it together, and if Joe's running up front and he's running faster than you, then the answer now is I'm going to go buy the shocks that he has. I'm going to go buy the springs.
Or I'm going to go buy his car.
And it's come to that point where, you know what? If I can't beat him, I can buy him. That seems to be the attitude at this point.
Just remember one thing, folks. Usually age and treachery will win out over youth and enthusiasm 95 to 98% of the time. Hey, it's great to visit with you. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Expo, I'm Jack Carruth, along with Tim Bertrand from Bertrand Motorsports and Randy Cabral, Northeastern Midget Racing Association. Midgets have been around for years. Timmy, I find it kind of fascinating that you got absorbed up into it in a period when really maybe midgets had fallen on some hard times. What was it that got you so amped up about midgets?
We started at Whip City Speedway, as you know, actually back in the days of High Groove, back in the early 90s. And I there was something about running winged, fast, open-wheel cars that always intrigued me. And one day, my dad said, "Hey, let's go down to Waterford. The midgets are running." And that was in probably the late 90s. And we hadn't spent much time around the midgets because we were always racing on the weekends. And the first time I saw the midgets run at Waterford, I said, "Oh, this is something that we got to do at some point." And it had been a couple of years. We kind of followed the circuit, and we were at the motorsports show in Pennsylvania one winter, and we walked by Lou Siccone's midget. And in the back corner of the midget, there was a little tiny sign that said "For Sale," and it had the phone number on it. And I just graduated from college. It was 2000, just started working, and I said to my dad, if we're going to run midgets, that's the car that we need to get right there. I said, this looks different than what everybody else has. It looks like a really nice piece. And I said, if we're going to do this, that's the car that we need to get. And him and I went partners on it. And that was it after that.
The beginning of a long and torrid, passionate affair.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah.
All right, on the right of me here, I think it's a little more understandable. Racers will race anything. And for you, midget racing has been a springboard to some success, but also can be a bit frustrating now and again, Randy, as well. Can it not?
Oh, yeah, it can, especially when you're working as hard as you possibly can. You think you're getting one step ahead of the guy, and when you get to the track, you come to find out you're 2 steps behind him. So it's been tough, and Tim's helped me along with that to get me to where I am at this level, and versus where my dad, we were always, showing up with a knife to a gunfight, and it was always a tough deal, but we always came out pretty good.
Is it just the pocketbook, or is it having the right chemistry and having people understand what you mean and not what you say?
I wish it was just a pocketbook, but it's definitely not. Tim is very smart about what he spends and what he does. It comes down to me and Tim molded together right from day one, and I come out and I say, we need to do this, and Tim says, well, let's do this. I say, okay, how about this? And we work together, and at the end of the day, we're always one of the fastest cars on the racetrack.
Tim, I think that's one of the things that people tend to forget is you can be a car owner, but when you make the chemistry connection with a driver, it takes it to the next level. How about fulfilling has it been for you to have a guy like Randy? Because you've gone through your share of drivers, and some of them are big-time names, but yet this has clicked pretty well.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the original story around how Randy got in the car. I had decided that my career had started to take off at the time, and I was going to get out of the car. And we had one of those really famous drivers in the car one night at Stafford Speedway, and we wrecked the car. And Randy came up to me afterwards and said, "Hey, why don't you let me drive your car? I could wreck it just as good as anybody can." And I said, "Well, I'd love for you to drive my car." And he kind of laughed it off and walked away. And I called him during the week, and I said, no, I was actually really serious when I said I'd like you to drive my car. And he still thought that I was kidding. And then we talked again later that week, and we set up a test session at Waterford. And right from the minute he got in the car, he came in, he told me what the car was doing. We made a couple changes, and the next time we went out, it was only his second time in the car. He was running under the track record at Waterford. And I'll never forget this day. I came in, he looked at me, his mom was there with him, and I said, we put this deal together, we're going to win a lot of races together. I said, I can tell the way he drives my car. I can tell from the very limited interaction that we just had and what he told me it was doing and what I saw it was doing that chemistry was going to be there. I think it also helps that I've driven the cars before as well, because the minute that the car gets on the racetrack and I see it doing something, and you know this, I feel it in the seat of my pants. And when he comes in, he tells me what it's doing, and I felt that, I have a good idea about what changes to make, and we never stop thinking about the car.
Randy, when you first started, and you alluded to the fact that, running with a family operation, and as you said, and I'll quote you, taking a knife to a gunfight, how many times did you have to push as a driver where you lost that level of comfort that now you've got running for Bertrand Motorsports?
Honestly, I've never lost a level of comfort because my father gave me the best that his money could possibly buy. It just wasn't anything compared to everybody else. But he always gave me such a good, safe piece and the best piece he could. And he was just very ingenuitive and made sure that I had the best that he could possibly give me. And so I gave him my best possible effort I could every single time. And, whether we were getting lapped or we were lapping people, we made sure, we made it happen together. And we got out of the car smiling every time. And I don't think he never came up to me and said, you really didn't do a very good job tonight. It was always, you did the best you could, and I'm proud of you.
And that's what I'm kind of wondering. Having that kind of training and that kind of stability, it had to help you in your maturation as a driver, too.
Oh, absolutely. My father was always my biggest supporter, and he's also my biggest critic. because if I did do something wrong, he did let me know and say, this is what you need to do a little different, and that helped me. And my father always raced off of pretty much with nothing, no money, built everything himself. So when I started, my father said, you want to drive, you work on the car. I'm not doing it for you. You take care of it. It's your car. I'm there to back you up.
One of the hot topics of conversation for now well into 20 years. The future of midget racing in the Northeast. It has been good. It has been challenging. It is car counts that have gone down, have gone up. The transition from not just NEMA midgets, but also NEMA lights. The influx of young talent, now even people younger than you two. Where do you see the state of midget racing in the Northeast right now?
I think it's decent right now. I think we've been in worse spots and we've been in better spots in the last 10 years. I think the club has done a great job putting in place some rules that allow the cost to come down a bit. So there's engine rules, there's tire rules, and I think the fallacy that people have had about midget racing was that you needed really deep pockets to do it. And I think that some of the recent rule changes that the club's made over the last 5 years has really made it affordable. In fact, a lot of the guys that have graduated from NEMA lights to NEMA say, it's really not that much more expensive. You need to buy 2 or 3 tires. You're going to do that with either series. And the fact that some of these motors now are going 25, 30, 35 races was one of the Achilles heels of midget racing 10 or 15 years ago. You had motors that were going, the old Ed Pink Ford days. The rumor of the motor would go 4 races, and then you needed an $8,000 rebuild. I think we're over that, and I think we're in a pretty good spot. I think the light series has really helped. We have a bunch of guys graduating from last year into the full NEMA class this year. Seems like every week I hear about a new guy coming to NEMA. I think we'll have a really solid season. It looks like we'll have between 18 and 22 guys full-time on the circuit with some really good equipment this year.
It's not that many years ago where you were the young buck. Now with NEMA lights and these young kids coming up through the ranks, have you gotten middle age, or are you an old, accomplished midget driver?
Mentality-wise, I'm still a teenager. Body-wise, I feel like I'm an old washed-up has-been.
Hey, guys, my love affair with midgets. Open-wheel racing is something that's very, very special, and especially knowing and seeing through the years the way NEMA has come about, back all the way to the Humphrey days and all the way back to the Sescos and a lot of the ingenuity. What do you think, if there's one thing that midget racing needs to do to thrust it back into the mainstream? And I'll start with you, Randy. What needs to be done?
To me, what needs to be done is more fan interaction. This is all, to me, it's all about the fans. Everything I do is for the fans. The passes I make, the scary moves that I make, the ones that I really scare Tim in the stands and what he's yelling at me for, is I do it for the fans. I do it because I want them to see it. I want them to say, I want to be like that guy. I was the guy that, I'm not saying I'm a Teddy Christopher fan, but I was the guy that always said, I want to be like Teddy Christopher. I want to be that guy. I want someone sitting at the dinner table talking about, Randy Cabral, like me and my father used to talk about Teddy Christopher. I mean, whether you like the guy or hate the guy, he is the man. So I always wanted to be like someone like him. So to me, that's what is going to help midget racing in the Northeast, and I try to be that guy, and I race all kinds of different divisions. It's not that I'm just a NEMA. I race everything, and my girlfriend hates it, but it's got to be done, and it helps NEMA for me to be out in other divisions also.
Bertrand, you've been instrumental in a lot of the changes that have been made by NEMA because you've been outspoken and you've tried to think outside the box. So answer that question for me. One thing that you think needs to be addressed, and as soon as possible.
I think, I'll answer this in 2 parts. I think that we still don't have a great control over the tire situation. I think that tends to be the number one spend item in most racing series these days. And that is, if I talk to guys that run Modified Tour or SK or NEMA, the tire situation is still something that most clubs or series have not solved for, and it continues to be what people spend their money on. So the more that we can, we've done a deal with Hoosier again for this year. We've told them we really need to work with them and have them work with us to try to find tires that are going to last a little bit longer. They've committed to do that. I think that if we can figure out that recipe, if there was ever a tire that could go 2 or 3 races, and there have been some series that have figured this out, that would dramatically lower the cost of midget racing. I think that the second thing is we have to continue to get guys in these cars that the fans know. I think that the TQ series has made a really big revival over the last couple of years because you have Donnie Leah and Teddy Christopher and Lou Ciccone and these guys running these cars, and that's who the fans come to see. And I think, I've personally tried to be instrumental to this. We have, Doug Coby signed up to run another 2 or 3 races this year. He's a fan favorite at a lot of places that he goes. And I think that when you see those guys getting into these cars, then the modified fans come to watch. They all of a sudden now have an interest in midget racing, and I think that is what midget racing has been missing. That was 20 or 30 years ago. You had Jeffrey Bodine, and then you'd have Ted Christopher jump in a car once in a while, and people like that. And I think that people need to see their favorite guys coupled with our favorite guys, and I think that would really help provide a boost for midget racing.
It goes without saying, wish nothing but the best for the both of you. You are the cutting edge in the future of midget racing, and I think it's in pretty good hands. Thanks so much.
Excellent. Thanks.
And Randy, I bet you're happy you don't have to team with me anymore indoors.
Hey, you know what? Those are some of the best times I had, and when I first started racing indoors, I teamed with you. We had a great time, and I was happy that I finally made a name main indoors after 8 years of trying.
Good luck to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Afternoon at the Plaza Hotel and Expo Center for Racers Expo. I got a couple of New England Truck Series drivers on each side of me. Pete Cayer, the Rookie of the Year in 2013 in the New England Truck Series. That had to be pretty special for you and the team.
That was it was very exciting for us. That was our goal when we came out this year, was to win Rookie of the Year, and we had some stiff competition. The 44 truck, the 151 truck, both of them very capable drivers and really good teams. And I was just very happy when it came down to the end of the year that we were able to grab that and actually got a top 5 in points as well.
Now, Pete, you took home other awards that evening, and I believe there was an award about a leaky truck or something. Did you get that? Did you get that award this year?
I got the award for driver most likely needed to drink after the event. It was a rough year. We still managed to get Rookie of the Year, and we did get a top 5, but we had plenty of bad outings too that resulted in lots of leaky trucks and lots of stuff like that. It's a new truck for me. It's a new that truck wasn't a complete truck when I got it. It was a bare chassis, and we built it, and we had transmission problems that plagued us earlier in the year and whatnot. And we did finally get it sorted out. When we got later in the year, we had a couple of good runs.
Now, Pete, you did have a tough run at Thompson at the end of the season. You were talking about quite a bit of work that needed to be done to that vehicle during the off season. How's that going?
Our truck is still in a lot of pieces right now. It's we unfortunately locked up the brakes. We had a brake problem in the right rear in the heat race, driving first lap full speed in turn 1, and it whipped the truck around on us, and it wiped the truck out. We're essentially building a brand new truck for this season. We're using some of what we had of the old truck, but for the most part, it's going to be a brand new truck for us. The guys at RAR Chassis helped us putting it back together, and we're still working on it. My crew and I have been working diligently on it. We're hoping to be ready for the first race of the year, so that way we can go out there and defend our Rookie of the Year title.
That sounds good, Pete. Now, the first race of the year is going to be at the Waterford Speed Bowl. That was a little bit of a surprise for you guys because originally you guys were going to Thompson, but I think like a week or two before now you're going to Waterford, so that's going to have to kick up the getting the truck ready deal, right?
Yeah, it certainly throws a little bit of a wrench in our works because obviously we need all the time we can get, really completely building a truck from scratch. But it's always nice to be able to go down to Waterford Speed Bowl because I started racing at the Speed Bowl. I enjoy going there, and we ran okay there last year. But I think once we can get now that we've got our transmissions problem sorted and everything, we're going to go down there and we're going to run well.
Sounds good, folks. That's Pete Cayer, and hopefully we'll see you on the full tour this year for the New England Truck Series. And, hey, thanks for talking to us here at Racers Expo.
That is our plan. Our plan is to run the full series again this year.
Any sponsors you want to talk about?
We're still working on sponsorship for this year. We're still working on it. We're trying. We got some irons in the fire, so hopefully we're going to come up with something that's going to help us run the series.
Good deal. There's a good race car driver right there, folks. He runs in the New England Truck Series. Pete Cayer, 2013 Rookie of the Year. Thanks for talking to us today, Pete. All right, to my left here is a 4-time champion in the New England Truck Series, and Chris Correll. Great name in auto sports here, in motorsports here in New England. And what brings you to the Truck Series, and what keeps you there?
We've been in the truck series for quite a while, running. Like I said, we got 4 championships. And basically, any other racing competition, like to drive against another guy and see who's got the better equipment for the day.
Now these trucks, there's some rule changes going on, and I'm talking to some of the drivers. They're saying they like it. What's going on with the rules?
Yeah, well, it's everybody wants to go to this Chevy 602 crate motor, which we've been running Fords for years and been winning races with the Fords. But we're going to switch over to the Chevy motors and stuff like that and standard transmission.
Now you guys hit quite a few racetracks. Chris, what are some of the tracks that you like that the New England Truck Series competes at?
Well, 2 of them are my favorites, and that's Monadnock and Thompson. I like Thompson for the speed. I like Monadnock just because you got to handle at that track to get around that track.
Okay, and they got Star and Hudson coming up this year, too. That's got to be pretty exciting for you guys.
Yeah, 2 tracks that I've never raced at before in my entire time. I mean, we've been a lot of places, but never been there, and usually first-time tracks sometimes are good for me. I usually win at them.
Chris, this is I'm kind of new to this whole deal, but it really seems like it's a good family organization, this New England Truck Series. And how does that help you keep your focus on what you do here?
Yeah, as a touring series, I mean, we try to get along with everybody, one another, have fun with everybody in the series. I mean, help out the other guy who needs a little bit of help, the whole 9 yards. I mean, I've raced in a lot of different series, and a lot of them, they don't want to help one another. And here, we'll lend parts out to other people who don't have the parts, just to keep them running and keep things going.
Now, Chris, you said, 3 sets of tires on the whole season? That's pretty incredible for a full-size V8 series.
Yeah, we get pretty good life out of the tires on these. We run the Hoosier 970 tires, and they don't drop off very much. I mean, it's up to the individual how much he wants to spend on tires. If you don't have to buy them, there's no sense in buying them, and you just run the tire that you got unless you really need to put them on.
Now you'll see Chris Correll. He also runs an SK Light modified. Tries to get around to several speedways here in New England, and he does a darn good job of it. But we're really proud to have you here on the New England Truck Series Tour, and it's going to be a fun season in 2014, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, we're definitely looking forward to running for another championship. Try to put number 5 in there, and get everything done. My owner Don, he's been working his butt off on getting this new Chevy thing in this truck there, which is quite a task. Like Pete said, he's rebuilding. We're pretty much building a brand new truck, just using an old chassis.
Yeah, that chassis has been around since what, '98? You said?
Don's the original owner of the chassis when it was first built, so he's been hanging on to that puppy, and it's been a good chassis to us. So we don't want to get rid of it.
There you go, folks. Just another one of the great drivers that competes on the New England Truck Series Tour, and we race all over New England. Pete, you've been real busy with the new website. Can you tell us just a little bit about that deal?
I've been when I joined the series, one of the things that we that as a series I thought we were lacking was a really good, easy to navigate, comprehensive website that really displayed the drivers and allowed for just some more better information, easier to find. And I talked to Lorraine about it, and who's our series director, and she said, "You want to give us a hand with it? Go for it." So we took on the project and tried to build a better website that was easier for people to navigate. And I hope people are going to come by and check it out and see that there's a big difference, because we're trying to do a better job of really promoting this series and getting our name out there as a place where, not just, because a lot of these tracks you go there and, the trucks are here and they're here once, twice a year, and guys don't really know anything about us. They don't know what we do. And to be able to, just to help get our message out there a little bit better to what we're about. We're a touring metric chassis. We're a touring metric chassis, almost a street stock series, where something very similar to what a lot of guys already race. And you can go to down to Waterford and you go to Stafford with their Dare stocks, and we're running a lot of the same, essentially the same cars that they're running, but we get to visit a lot more tracks. We get to visit a lot of tracks. We run a very hard tire, as Chris mentioned, that lasts a long time, and I enjoy running all of these different places, and you can do it really on a smaller budget than what some guys can do running just one track all season long.
Okay, well, I hope those were interesting. Next week we hope to bring you highlights from the first racing show at Waterford Speed Bowl, weather permitting. And if not, we'll have more interviews for you. Thanks for joining us. See you next week.